This year, the Michigan State Bar Foundation Award goes to a very special individual and the first executive director of the Michigan State Bar Foundation, Linda Rexer. For almost 3 decades, Linda Rexer directed the foundation in providing leadership and funding to improve access to justice, civil legal aid for the poor, and the administration of justice. During her tenure, the foundation grew to an entity that has made more than 1,950 grants and distributed over $190 million, up to $11 million annually. Rexer was a founding member of the State Bar of Michigan's Access to Justice Task Force in 1997, and even though she's retired, she's completing her term as co-chair of the State Bar Committees on Justice Initiatives. Rexer brought visionary leadership for the creation of an online resource for pro se litigants to access information, resulting in the creation of the Michigan Legal Help Program, one of her many legacies and proudest accomplishments.
I am so grateful for this award from the Michigan State Bar Foundation, not only because of my long association with the foundation, but because the foundation's important work would make any lawyer proud. The foundation's mission is to provide leadership and grants to improve access to justice, including support for civil legal aid for the poor, law-related education, and conflict resolution. So as a result, there are young people who know how to resolve problems peacefully. The public has educational information about the justice system. Teachers have new ways to engage students to learn legal principles. Seniors are able to save their homes from unscrupulous contractors. Domestic violence victims are safer. And low-income families have somewhere to go for civil legal help. And much more, of course, including assisting with innovations like the high-quality legal self-help program, Michigan Legal Help, which weekly reaches some 25,000 persons who cannot afford to hire a lawyer, providing them user-friendly online information for simple civil legal matters. I don't think the folks taping me will let me list all the foundation's work, so I'll just say that none of its remarkable work could have happened without the foundation's great partners, including the courts, the State Bar of Michigan, and Michigan's outstanding nonprofit civil legal aid programs. It was a great privilege to work with those partners, and of course with the foundation's tireless staff and luminary board of trustees. And I'm certain the foundation will have an exciting future with its new executive director, the talented Jennifer Bentley, and all of the other leaders and supporters I don't have time to name. And also because Michigan's lawyers have always supported the foundation's work with pro bono and financial donations. So please continue to do that, because you will help the foundation keep making a difference in people's lives and in the justice system. And like me, you will get more than you give. And I think at this point, I'm expected to say I share this award with all of you, but you can't have it. It's mine. I love it. More seriously, though, there's nothing more gratifying than to be honored by those you deeply respect, and nothing more meaningful to me than to receive the foundation's Founders Award. As Shakespeare has said, but thanks and ever thanks.
Each year, the Michigan Defense Trial Counsel and Michigan Association for Justice each present a Respected Advocate Award to promote mutual respect and civility. The Michigan Association for Justice gives the award to a member of the defense bar for the purpose of recognizing and honoring the individual's history of successful representation of clients and adherence to the highest standards of ethics. The Michigan Defense Trial Counsel does the same for a plaintiff's practitioner. This year, the Michigan Defense Trial Counsel presents its Respected Advocate Award to Vernon Venn Johnson. Venn Johnson has been representing victims against insurance companies, big business, and government for 30 years. He's handled cases in state and federal courts in most Michigan jurisdictions and in courtrooms throughout the United States. He's worked on some of the biggest, most complex, and high-profile injury cases in America, winning over $100 million in jury verdicts and achieving case settlements of more than $300 million. Originally from Saginaw, Johnson earned his undergraduate degree at Kalamazoo College and his Juris Doctor from the University of Detroit School of Law. Johnson is a member of the State Bar of Michigan, Negligence Committee Secretary, past president of the Michigan Association of Justice, a member of the American Board of Trial Attorneys, part of the American Association of Justice Leaders Forum, and on the executive board for the Police Misconduct Litigation Section.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being in attendance tonight. I know you're all here personally for me. Oh, you weren't? But thank you for listening to all these long, boring speeches. Do my best to make it short. Michigan Defense Trial Counsel, MDTC, thank you so much for this honor. I greatly appreciate it. I'm honored. I'm humbled. As many of you know, I started out as a defense lawyer at Cole Secrest, so I greatly appreciate your struggles and what you do every single day to do your part in bringing justice for all people on both sides of the V. But especially I want to thank President Richard Paul, Lee Hachachurian, Mark Gilchrist, Tim Deemer, Phil Coravasis. I got it right, Phil. Do it again. Phil Coravasis. I know you all were instrumental in this award for me. Thank you so much. Also like to give a shout out to John Secrest. John, as many of you know in the room, those of us that have the gray hair, phenomenal trial lawyer at Cole Secrest, Wardle Lynch Clark in Hampton back when I was there. And he was kind enough to let me do plaintiff work, much like he did throughout his long career, but really gave me the start, really took me under his wing and literally taught me how to look at a file and how to work up a file and how to have respect, not just for the process, but for our opponents. Also want to thank, I'm glad you all are sitting down, Jeffrey Feiger. I don't know, you guys have heard of him. He's a brand new guy here to town, kind of low key, but in the event that you haven't, he's a pretty good lawyer. But seriously, Jeffrey, thank you for all that you did for 16 years. Not exactly the slow, encouraging mentorship that Mr. Secrest did for me, but just to have the ability to sit near Jeff, watch Jeff, and then be involved with Jeff in trials and ultimately doing all on my own was an amazing experience that clearly allowed me to start Johnson Law 6 years ago. Thank you all to Johnson Law, all my peeps, but especially my partner in Flint, Tommy Wan, my good friend and buddy and partner in Detroit, Jeff Danzig. But every single day in Flint, in Grand Rapids, and Detroit, Johnson Law, almost 40 strong, 12 lawyers strong, working for people every single day. Just like all of us on both sides of the V, what we all want is a fair trial. We want our day in court. We want to represent our clients to the best of our ability. And I appreciate all of you everywhere that do that every single day. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
The Michigan Association for Justice honors J. Brian McDonald with a Respected Advocate Award. Brian McDonald maintains a trial practice that includes the areas of personal injury law, professional licensure defense, healthcare law, hospital and medical malpractice defense, and workers' compensation litigation. Born and raised in Flint, McDonald earned his undergraduate degree at Michigan State University and received his Juris Doctor at St. Mary's University of San Antonio, Texas, School of Law. McDonald is a member of the State Bar of Michigan, State Bar of Texas, Genesee County Bar Association, Michigan Defense Trial Council, and Michigan Society of Hospital Risk Managers. He's a member of the State Bar Workers' Compensation Law Section, Negligence Law Section, and Master Lawyer Section. He's been listed as a super lawyer every year from 2011 through 2016, a best lawyer every year from 2013 through 2017, and received the 2016 Excellence in Defense Award from the Michigan Defense Trial Council.
I'm very humbled and honored to receive the Respected Advocate Award from the Michigan Association of Justice. I've always considered this award to be synonymous with being a respected adversary. Along these lines, I'd like to congratulate Vin Johnson, who is the recipient of the Michigan Defense Trial Council Award. As a trial attorney, my professional life has been filled with adversarial confrontations. I have learned to accept the fact that both sides have a common goal, which is to represent their client's position with great vigor in a manner befitting our profession. I've always had an advantage over many other defense attorneys. I was born and raised by a pack of plaintiffs' attorneys. My father, two of my brothers, a brother-in-law, and a nephew were or are current plaintiff's attorneys. As a result, I learned early on what made plaintiff's attorneys tick. I recall the first movie about law that I watched with my father was To Kill a Mockingbird. In the movie, attorney Atticus Finch gave some very sage advice to a young scout. If you can learn a simple trick, Scout, you'll get along a lot better with all kinds of folks. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb into his skin and walk around in it. In my practice, I believe it is very important to consider things from your opponent's view. While we may not accept each other's position, we must always respect the same. I have likewise been very fortunate to have practiced in a firm where the basic tenets of respect and professionalism are a constant. My partners Tim Connect, Jose Brown, and a previous recipient of this award, Walt Griffin, have carried on the same respectful advocacy instilled by Earl Klein many years ago. I thank them for their continued support. I would also like to thank all of the plaintiff's attorneys that I've had the pleasure of battling with over the many past years. I can honestly say that I have learned something from each of them. More important than all of these people, however, is my wife, Jenny. She is and always has been the advocate for everything that is good in the world. She instilled in my 3 children and our 5 grandchildren the true sense of the word respect and encouraged all of us to be patient and listen to others. A current Broadway hit, Hamilton, tells the story from our history of Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, 2 friends who became adversaries. While they settled their disputes with a duel rather than a trial, Burr gave Hamilton some very sage advice early in his career. I believe it applies both to our practice of law as well as my speech tonight. Talk less, smile more. Thank you.
The Liberty Bell Award is given each year to a non-lawyer or nonprofit group that's contributed to the cause of justice or helped advance the public's understanding of the legal system. This year's winner is Charlevoix High School government and economics teacher Anne Marie Conway. As the high school's principal tells it, Conway, who also works as an adjunct professor at Baker College, truly immerses herself in professional growth and provides opportunities for students to learn more about different facets of local and state government. In addition to her work in the classroom, Conway spends countless hours making herself, her colleagues, and especially her students better prepared, more well-rounded, and genuinely excited about government. She donates her time to improving testing and educational materials, and she also gets out in the field with her students, participating in work groups, helping with local campaigns, organizing a teen court, visiting the Michigan Supreme Court, and attending, with her students, the last 5 presidential inaugurations. William Arthur Ward once said, "The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, and the superior teacher demonstrates. The great teacher inspires." It's Conway's ability to inspire our future leaders that makes her truly great.
Good evening. It is a pleasure for me to be here with you tonight. I want to thank retired Circuit Court Judge Richard Pytosh for nominating me for the Liberty Bell Award, the Emmett Charlevoix Bar Association and Stuart Fenton for selecting me as their recipient, and the State Bar of Michigan for this great honor. As a public school teacher, I work with young minds that are just entering the world of politics. Some are well versed in political dogma, whereas others know very little about our government, the actors, or the issues that we face. My goal with every student is to instill a love for our democratic republic and the role they play within it. Together we examine its complexity and brilliance, while also studying its deficits. By the spring, they graduate as adults, ready to safeguard our liberties, natural rights, and consent of the governed as explained in the Declaration of Independence. Each generation of Americans faces its own struggle in an attempt to maintain liberty, balancing majority tyranny with minority rights. From its inception, our Constitution has endured through ratification debates, the issue of slavery, a civil war, 2 world wars, and the power shifts of the executive and legislative branches. These are the natural growing pains of freedom. By examining our government's past failures and successes, my students apply these lessons while working with our local political parties, city government, and courts to effect positive change in the Charlevoix community. They attend rallies, form student-led political committees, join interest groups, discern political commentary by studying various perspectives, and volunteer countless hours for causes they care about. Most importantly, they realize that every individual has a right to her own opinions. They respect diversity and know that each of their peers has his own story to tell, the impetus of his political being. I am lucky. I love my job and I admire my students and the citizens that they become. I'll leave you tonight with a quote I have hanging next to my desk. It's from a film I show my students every year, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Liberty's too precious a thing to be buried in books. Men should hold it up in front of them every single day of their lives and say, I'm free to think and to speak. My ancestors couldn't. I can. And my children will. Thank you.
The Kimberly M. Cahill Bar Leadership Award is presented to a recognized local or affinity bar association program or leader for excellence in promoting the ideal of professionalism or equal justice for all, or in responding to a compelling legal need within the community. Patrick Wilson is known in his community as a man whose exemplary civic and legal career has spanned more than half a century. Wilson notably helped launch Traverse City Rotary Charities in the 1970s. Since its creation, it has given out more than $56 million to nonprofit organizations in 5 northwestern Michigan counties. He helped his region's primary health provider lay the groundwork for its long-term care facility. He also aided Traverse City's public and parochial schools in navigating the legal system in order to participate in cost-saving joint programs. And he facilitated the founding of the Leelanau County's Northwestern Michigan Horticultural Research Station. Wilson's civic leadership includes terms as president of the Traverse City Area Chamber of Commerce, Grand Traverse Leelanau Interim Bar Association, and the Michigan Society of Hospital Attorneys. He's also served on the Michigan State University Board of Trustees, the State Officers Compensation Commission, and the State Board of Ethics.
I am humbled and honored to be this year's recipient of the State Bar of Michigan Kimberly M. Cahill Bar Leadership Award. Ms. Cahill died in January 2008 at the tender age of 47 after a brief and courageous battle with cancer. While on this earth, she distinguished herself as an astute and gifted attorney and a leader as president of the Macomb County Bar and the State Bar of Michigan. More importantly, she extended herself into the community, serving as an advocate for women lawyers, an advocate for equal access to justice, and a host of other charitable activities and organizations. She has not and will not be forgotten, for her memory will be etched again and again on the record of this bar at its annual award ceremony. The future recipients of the Cahill Bar Leadership Award will fade into the history book, but her memory will shine bright year after year for others to be inspired by her legacy. Continue to rest in peace, true and faithful servant, Kimberly M. Cahill. As was true with Miss Cahill, friends and colleagues paved my way to the successful practice of law and community service in the small and beautiful city of Traverse City. When I was offered a job as a new associate with Running & Wise in 1963, for $105 per week, I was thrilled. In time, others asked me to consider public service opportunities, a given for most Traverse Cityans, where service above self was expected. So it went on for 50 plus years. Participate or join a service club, work on the chamber board, help the school district and hospital, receive state-level public service appointments, and work for Rotary Charities and other not-for-profit organizations. I can't thank my law partners enough, now Justice Thomas J. Phillips and Richard W. Ford, who permitted me the luxury of diminished billable hours while attending board meetings at the state capitol in Lansing, at MSU Board of Trustees meetings, and for a number of organizations in Traverse City. And there have been many others along the way who challenged and inspired me. My coaches and teammates at MSU, my law professors at U of M, who mostly scared me to death, Rotarians who gave me an opportunity to represent their organizations, Traverse City Area Public Schools, Munson Medical Center, Northwestern Michigan College, and the Art and Mary Schmuckel Family Foundation, to name just a few. And particularly to thank Rob Collier, now the CEO of the Council of Michigan Foundations, and Marcia Smith, CEO of Rotary Charities. It was their visions under the umbrella of Rotary Charities that we gave new life and purpose to Rotary camps and services, incubated the local land conservancy, established and initially funded the Traverse Area Community Foundation, purchased, renovated, and operated the historic Park Place Hotel as a learning center for culinary arts in cooperation with NMC, and more recently acquired ownership and operation of waterfront properties now known as the Discovery Pier. To all of them and more, I owe a debt of gratitude for permitting my participation as their counsel. Finally, to my family and my faith, they have inspired me to do good. While I may have disappointed my grandmother, Ada O'Connor, by not becoming the Archbishop of Detroit, overall, I expect I received a passing grade. And to the State Bar of Michigan, thank you for this honor in memory of Kimberly M. Cahill. Thank you.
Our next award is the John W. Kaminsky Pro Bono Award, which was established to foster awareness of the need for involvement of the private bar in delivering legal services to the poor. When it comes to qualified domestic relation orders, quadros, and domestic relation orders, DROs, nobody does it better than Robert Treat. As the owner of Quadro Express, a law firm that specializes in the preparation of quadros and DROs, Treat is the go-to guy for everyone: lawyers, law professors, law students, and clients. But perhaps more importantly, Treat is the go-to guy when it comes to preparing these orders for those who are truly in need. For many years, he's helped low-income people in Michigan, including military members, remain in their homes, buy food, and enjoy a greater quality of life, thanks to the benefits they're able to secure as a result of the quadros being prepared pro bono. Treat has served the State Bar of Michigan Litigation Assistance Partnership Project's Quadro program for more than 12 years. In the last 5 years alone, his firm has accepted and fulfilled more than 80 requests for quadros and DROs. His commitment to justice for all is truly inspiring.
I want to thank the State Bar of Michigan for this John W. Kaminsky Pro Bono Award. It's a great honor. It's very humbling. I would like to thank, in particular, John Hance, who's opened almost every door for me along the way. He founded Hance Financial, doing business as Quadro Express. And now I own and run Quadro Express, which enables me to do so many pro bono quadros. Of course, the family law section, and especially the family law counsel, is a tremendous help in everything I do. And the legal aid providers and the Access to Justice program are so important, and I feel so privileged to work with so many dedicated people. And of particular importance to me is the fact that Joe Cunningham won this award 13 years ago for establishing the program that now I've worked in, and I'm receiving the same award for the same work 13 years later. Last, I'd like to close and thank my staff Without them, none of this would be possible. And they are Mike Golamatis, staff attorney, Ann Pastrana, and administrators Beth Myers and Jennifer Baston. Thank you.
The Champion of Justice Awards are given to practicing lawyers and judges who display the highest integrity and adherence to the principles and traditions of the legal profession. This year, our winners include Michael McDaniel and the Honorable Kelly Ramsey. When there's a crisis in Michigan, Michael McDaniel is summoned to straighten it out. Currently, the former Michigan National Guard Brigadier General and Assistant State Attorney General is playing a key role in helping Flint get back on its feet after its drinking water was tainted by lead pipes. A current Western Michigan University Cooley Law School Associate Dean and Professor of Law, McDaniel is a nationally recognized expert in homeland and national security law. He chaired the task force that reviewed Michigan laws for gaps in protection against terrorism in the wake of 9/11, became the state's first Homeland Security Advisor in 2003, and served as U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary for Homeland Security from 2009 through 11. He also created Cooley Law School's Homeland and National Security Master of Laws program, the only one in the country outside of Washington, D.C.
Thank you. Thank you all. And special thanks to my colleagues at WMU Cooley Law School who epitomize daily the qualities of a champion. And of course, my deepest sincere thanks to my long-suffering family who have supported me and every project I have charged into. When I heard about this award, the very phrase, champion of justice, is inspiring, but it was also unsettling. I felt like this was the new standard I now had to uphold. And justice, both as an ideal and its definition, often seems elusive, often contradictory. If we compare the concept of criminal justice with its usage under international law, for example, they're very different. Under international norms of justice, the concepts of retaliation and preemptive self-defense are acceptable, even expected. Under criminal law, the first, retaliation, is criminal behavior itself, and the second, preemptive self-defense, is rarely permitted and almost always litigated. The term justice, however, most assuredly embraces two concepts: the respect for morally acceptable laws and respect for people's rights. And it is when either or both of those concepts are violated, or worse, when the two concepts are in opposition to each other, that we as lawyers must rise up and be the champion of that cause. So we saw in Flint, where the execution of the laws did not protect the rights of the individual citizens. I had the honor to step into the breach then existing between legal justice and rights-based justice in a small but meaningful way. And so I thank the State Bar for this recognition, then, on behalf of the residents of Flint. So I ask that all of you, too, seek justice. Find a challenge. Find people whose rights have been trampled or diminished or violated in some way. Make it a cause for justice. The etymology of the word champion was originally one who issued a challenge on behalf of others. And that, I most sincerely believe, is the definition of each one of us, as it is the very definition of an advocate. Be a champion, each of us. Be a champion for justice. Thank you.
The Honorable Kelly Ramsey has a long and distinguished legal career. During her time with the Wayne County Prosecutor's Child Abuse Unit and as a juvenile court referee in Michigan's 3rd Judicial Circuit Court, Judge Kelly Ramsey has seen children in the worst possible situations. Over the years, some of those same children have returned to Judge Ramsey's courtroom to talk about their successes later in life and thank her for the time she spent with them and the lasting impression she made on them. While taking part in a task force about pro bono services for foster children years ago, Judge Ramsey realized that those kids need more than just legal help. So she worked with the Detroit Metropolitan Bar Association, the 3rd Judicial Circuit Court, and the State Department of Human Services to establish for the 7th generation in 2005. Its primary aim is matching volunteers who donate time, talent, services, or goods to foster children who've received everything from eyeglasses to orthodontic care to prom dresses.
First of all, my heartfelt thanks to the State Bar of Michigan for honoring me with the Champion of Justice Award. I am truly grateful for and humbled by this award, and I am honored to be in the company of those who received this award before me and those who will follow. I listened to a few of the past recipients' speeches before I approached mine. Many spoke to the legacy of their close friends and relatives in the legal profession. I too can speak to an early introduction of the law into my life. But my parents were not lawyers and judges. My orientation to the field of law was the result of a totally different and rather unique set of circumstances. I had exceptional, and what some might say, rather unusual parents, both of whom I lost a long time ago. My mother, Delphine Oss Ramsey, died nearly a half a century ago when I was a child, but she was a woman far ahead of her times, and my father often reminded me of that. Back in the early 1940s, she was a chemist, and her thesis was a rather bold and forward-looking prediction: cancer can be cured. At the time, she was only 21 years of age. 8 years later, my mother left her position and her family upstate and married the man I lovingly call my wildcat father, Detroit police officer Robert W. Ramsey. My mother moved to Detroit and started her second career as a protective service worker for what was then called the Department of Social Services. After her passing, my father was assigned at his request to Recorder's Court, now known as Frank Murphy Hall of Justice. And as a teen, I spent many summers accompanying him to work and sitting in the back of the courtroom, where I learned firsthand about the law and how judgments rendered in court impact lives and shape a community. It is easy to see that both of my parents shaped the direction my life would take. Since graduation from law school in 1986, I too have served the public. For almost all of my career, I have worked for Wayne County, first serving as an assistant prosecuting attorney, spending most of my time during that employment assigned to either the juvenile court or in the felony child abuse unit, then serving for almost 23 years as a referee on the bench of the Third Circuit Court Juvenile Section, where I was entrusted to administer justice and to take care of and guide the most vulnerable members of our community, our abused and neglected children, our most at-risk children. While in this position, it was evident to me that far too many children in our community are not being raised in a safe, suitable, loving, nurturing, drug-free, and crime-free environment. The results of this failure now stand before me as a judge in the criminal division of the Third Circuit Court. I have not been there long enough to tell you the percentage, but many, if not most, of the pre-sentence investigation reports reflect that defendants have a history of neglect and often involvement with the juvenile court system. We say we care about them. However, there's a cost to the community and our future when we don't. As all of us know, our court system is designed to take care of only the basic needs of our children. Sadly, these children and their families have a lot of other needs we simply don't address. I believe that every child deserves not just to survive their childhood, but to thrive. If we provided our abused, neglected, and at-risk children with the value of enrichment services, I believe that many of their lives would have a different outcome, and I believe that I can prove it to you. Because that's the goal of the For the Seventh Generation, a nonprofit foundation I co-founded with Lorraine Weber back in 2005. This program is designed to provide life enrichment to disadvantaged children. This program serves as a clearinghouse to match non-legal service providers such as doctors, dentists, artists, and other professional and business owners willing to volunteer their time, talents, services, or merchandise with Metropolitan Detroit's foster children in need of their help. In the last 3 years, more than 3,200 children and their families have been touched by the generosity of this program. It's an investment with a big payoff. We must recognize that the actions we take today will have an impact far beyond the current generation. How we deal with the most vulnerable children today will affect them and their progeny for years to come. We must work for the 7th generation. At this time, I would like to extend a heartfelt thanks to the Detroit Bar Association Foundation, the 3rd Judicial Circuit Court of Michigan, and the Department of Health and Human Services, who eagerly adopted the For the 7th Generation, who have generously supported us in countless ways since its inception. Your participation has been invaluable and very much appreciated. I would again like to thank the State Bar of Michigan and the Board of Commissioners for their recognition of both my career and my work with For the 7th Generation, a project I hold near and dear to my heart. And finally, I would like to thank my parents, Delphine and Robert Ramsey, for their values they instilled in me and the path they introduced me to. They taught me to respect everyone with dignity, and they encouraged me to dream and showed me that with hard work and determination, that I too could achieve the seemingly impossible. Shouldn't every child have the same opportunities? I believe the best gift one can give a parent is to fill them with pride. I'd like to think that I've done that. Thank you again for this award. I hope that each of you will find the time to go to the website, www.forthe7thgeneration.org, and consider what you can do to change the life of a child. When we individually work to save just one child, we will ultimately save many. Thank you again.
The John Reed Michigan Lawyer Legacy Award is given to an attorney who's elevated the quality of legal education and practice in Michigan. Professor Alan Shank has taught at Wayne State University Law School for more than 50 years. During that time, he's devoted his academic career to tax law and is widely recognized as one of the world's foremost authorities on value-added taxation. Shank, whose writings on value-added taxation have appeared in a dozen books, is frequently called on to dispense his expertise and depth of knowledge worldwide. He's taught at special tax courses at universities ranging from Harvard to the University of Sydney to the University of Pretoria in South Africa, and he's spoken at tax conferences and symposia in Australia, China, and the UK. Professor Shank has testified in tax proposals before the U.S. House Ways and Means Committee and the U.S. Senate Finance Committee. He's also a technical advisor to the International Monetary Fund, where he drafts and reviews tax legislation and regulations for countries in Eastern Europe, Africa, and the Caribbean.
So as an academic, I am honored to receive recognition from my students, and I'm grateful for their recognition. But as a lawyer, to be honored by your profession is indeed a high honor, and I am grateful for the award that I'm receiving today. Wayne alums tend to achieve leadership positions, and that certainly has been true in the Michigan Bar. Many of our alums have served as president of this Bar Association, chairs of the committees, and I take pride in those accomplishments. But today, I am particularly honored with the award that you're giving me, the John Reed Legacy Award. John was my dean for 5 years. He exemplified a person of integrity and ethics beyond approach is indeed a special honor. I am very touched. Thank you very much.
The Frank J. Kelly Distinguished Public Service Award is presented to State Bar members whose service in the public sector helps promote the ideals of democracy and strengthens the American system of justice. Tonight's recipients are Judge Robert Holmes Bell, Judge Bernard Friedman, and Barbara McQuaid. Judge Robert Holmes Bell has served the public in an exemplary manner for over 47 years. Judge Bell began his public career as an assistant prosecutor in 1969, before becoming a district and then circuit judge. In 1987, Judge Bell was appointed by President Ronald Reagan to serve as the United States District Judge for the Western District of Michigan. He served as Chief Judge of the Western District from 2001 to 2008. He's highly regarded among federal judges and was appointed chair of the Criminal Law Committee for the United States Judicial Conference by U.S. Supreme Court Justice John Roberts. His cases have ranged from allocating responsibility for the cleanup of PCBs in the Kalamazoo River to balancing historic motorboat use against the U.S. Forest Service's designation of a lake as a wilderness area. He heard the case of the first person sentenced to death in the state of Michigan since 1937. He also presided over the cases of 31 members of the Latin Kings for gang activity in Holland. Perhaps his biggest challenge and success arose when he was the only active district judge from 2005 to 2007.
Thank you to the State Bar of Michigan and all of you here tonight for honoring me with the Frank J. Kelly Distinguished Public Service Award. I am overwhelmed, humbled, and I must admit, deeply pleased to receive this award. As many of you know, I have been a judge for most of my legal career. That office has many long-standing procedures containing safeguards and standards for those coming before the court. In some ways, judging is outside the creative and artistic sphere. Yet we all bring ourselves to our work. And over the years, I have developed specific goals for my courtroom and my caseload. It has always been important to me that the court family and staff be a team that works effectively with lawyers, litigants, witnesses, and juries in a spirit of public service, such that in each case we achieve the best possible outcome under the law. It has been important to me that there be certain predictability within the courtroom, that people be treated courteously and in an even-handed manner under our sacred rule of law. Furthermore, I have been consistently impressed with the caliber of our citizens who give of their time to serve on our juries. Their civic-spirited service produce predictable justice over and over again. Their opinions track the reasoning of the finest legal minds. It has given me great confidence in our American jury system. And finally, I have always believed that for everyone who comes to the attention of court broken and lost, those who have committed crimes, defrauded others, or become involved in disputes, that their lives can be better in the future, and that justice might be tied to hope and eventually restoration to a better life, because we in the court family have served them well. Thank you again for honoring me tonight.
Judge Bernard Friedman has dedicated nearly 4 decades of his legal career to public service. He served in the United States Army JAG Corps and then as an assistant prosecuting attorney before becoming a district court judge. In the spring of 1988, President Ronald Reagan nominated Judge Friedman to the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan. From 2004 to 2009, he served as chief judge of that court. He's become one of the most highly respected judges in Michigan. Although he's decided many memorable cases, Judge Friedman's best-known case will forever be DeBoer versus Snyder. In deciding that case in March of 2014, Judge Friedman struck down Michigan's gay marriage ban as unconstitutional. In November of 2014, the U.S. 6th District Court of Appeals overturned Judge Friedman's decision. Then on June 24, 2015, the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Sixth Circuit's decision, striking down gay marriage bans across the country.
On March 8th of this year, I received a letter from the Bar Association saying that a committee had recommended me and that the board of directors had approved the recommendation for me to receive the Frank J. Kelly Distinguished Service Award. I was freaked. I couldn't believe it. I hadn't asked for it. I hadn't expected it. And day to day, I go to my job loving it every day. And here, my peers were giving me an award for something that I love to do and some place I love to be. All I can say to you is, this is the pinnacle of my career, having my own peers recognize what I have done in terms of my life's ambition. All I can say is thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so proud to be a member of the bar. I'm so proud to be a lawyer. I'm so proud to be a judge. Thanks.
As United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan, Barbara McQuaid has developed a reputation for being tough, highly competent, and fair. McQuaid oversaw more than 100 attorneys who handled more than 1,000 cases a year. Some of the most notable cases include the conviction of former Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick and 30 others on public corruption charges, the conviction and life sentence of an al-Qaeda operative who attempted to blow up a commercial aircraft on Christmas Day in 2009, the conviction of Dr. Fareed Fatah in one of the largest Medicare fraud cases in U.S. history, the conviction and $4.3 billion fine against Volkswagen for falsified emission tests, and the conviction and $1 billion fine against Katata Corporation for fraudulently concealing defective airbags. McQuaid also created the first ever fully staffed civil rights unit in a U.S. Attorney's office and prioritized work that would level the playing field in housing, education, accessibility for the disabled, and voting. In short, she made it clear that the rule of law applies equally to everyone.
I'm so honored to receive this award named after Frank Kelly, who served our state with such distinction for so many years. And I'm also honored to join the long list of prior honorees, such an impressive list of public servants. And of course, I am also proud to be joining my fellow recipients today, Judge Robert Holmes Bell and Judge Bernard A. Friedman. Judge Friedman was my first boss as a lawyer, and he taught me so many things. The most important of which that I always remember is the importance of just being nice, because what goes around comes around. It's a great honor to receive this award today, but frankly, I have already received the greatest gift any lawyer could ever receive, in the chance to work at the U.S. Attorney's Office. And now at the University of Michigan Law School, what a double gift that I've received. I often tell students that when they're looking for work, they should look for work that is interesting, challenging, and important, because at some point, money does not feed your soul. And for me, that work was the work of the U.S. Attorney's Office. I was so proud to work side by side with the dedicated professionals at the U.S. Attorney's Office and the law enforcement agents that we worked with to improve the quality of life for the people of the Eastern District of Michigan. The work that they do is so important to me. They disrupt terrorist attacks, they expose public corruption and fraud, they combat violent crime, they combat drug trafficking, they enforce civil rights, rescue exploited children, and protect taxpayer funds. What work could be more interesting, challenging, or important? One of my favorite quotes of all time is a quote by Theodore Roosevelt, who once said, "Far and away the greatest prize that life has to offer is the chance to do work that is worth doing." And I can't think of work that is more worth doing than the work of the U.S. Attorney's Office. And now I've been given a second gift, which is a chance to work at the University of Michigan Law School, where I have a chance to help law students develop a deep understanding of our legal system and our Constitution. And so on behalf of all of the men and women at the U.S. Attorney's Office and the University of Michigan Law School, I gratefully accept this award.
Our final award, the Robert B. Hudson Award, is the highest honor the State Bar confers on its members. Tonight's Hudson Award recipient, Gerard Mantisse, is never too busy to show support for his community, colleagues, and former students. Mantisse, the founding partner of Mantisse, Honigman, Rossman, and Williamson PC, has a stellar reputation as an attorney. He and John Conway successfully prosecuted a class action lawsuit in favor of autistic children that resulted in a landmark settlement in June of 2009, requiring Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan to reverse its policy and provide applied behavioral analysis therapy for autistic children. Such therapy, previously denied because Blue Cross considered it experimental, has been shown to be beneficial and needy early in life. He's also devoted a lot of time to serving the legal profession and bar associations. Mantee served as a voluntary hearing panelist for the Attorney Discipline Board for 21 years. He has served in the State Bar Publications and Website Advocacy Committee for 23 years. And he's devoted hundreds of hours to working with his daughter and her school classmates to create 3 film projects for Law Day, that each won first prize in the State Bar Annual Law Day contest. Gerard has authored several books and regularly donates time and money to many organizations, including Habitat for Humanity, Wayne State Free Legal Aid Clinic, Care House, Capuchin Soup Kitchen, and Gleaners. He serves on the board of directors for Goodwill Industries and has devoted over 300 pro bono hours to establishing the First Step Legal Advocacy Project, which provides free legal aid to those who suffer domestic violence.
Mr. President, and other officers of the State Bar of Michigan, justices and judges, fellow members of the bar, and guests, thank you very much for this honor. I deeply appreciate it, and I accept it on behalf of my team and my family, and especially my daughter. In contemplating the Hudson Award, I thought about some of the reasons I became an attorney. As a high school student growing up in St. Louis, I learned one day that a talented history teacher was being reassigned for expressing his belief that teachers' wages were too low. I was angry at this violation of the freedom of speech, and I organized a protest of 500 students to support the teacher. While the teacher was still reassigned, this passion to speak for and to fight for those striving to be heard remains rooted deep within me. As lawyers, we are given the opportunity to advocate for justice. It is not always easy to challenge the status quo, but it is an extreme honor and privilege to do so. And if we fail in our responsibility, our client suffers, our community suffers, and justice suffers. By the very nature of our profession, we are given power and influence not only over the futures of the people we represent, but over the justice system as a whole. Years ago, the concept of separate but equal was accepted by many, yet it was the courageous clients and their attorneys who challenged this belief. In the past, indigent people charged with an offense had no right to an attorney, yet it was a lawyer and his client who disturbed the universe and created new law. And this is our duty, to advocate for justice and to pour all of our energy and wisdom into our work. If the press is the fourth estate, then surely the legal profession is the fifth estate. Dedicated individuals fighting for the rule of law and even new rules of law. Not all of our work is glamorous, but all of it is crucial. Even when we argue about the factual details of a case, we are actually fighting for fairness and justice. There is no room for being tired or disillusioned. And if we stay the course, we will know that to the end, we never abandoned the truth, we never yielded to oppression, and we never surrendered to injustice. I recall the words of Cyrano de Bergerac, the legendary fighter and poet, as he fought his last fight. You there, who are you? 100 against 1. I know them now, my ancient enemies. Falsehood, there. Prejudice, there. Cowardice, compromise. Surrender, no, never. I fight on, I fight on, I fight on. Thank you.